This week on the Ocean Cruises podcast, I'm having a chat with Lauren Landers. Lauren is currently living in the Bahamas on her 51-foot 1993 Beneteau Oceanis. She sails a boat, Sol de la Mar single-handed, and she operates a charter business offering sailing experiences, free diving, spearfishing, and she also works with a partner delivering yoga retreats abroad. Lauren studied and trained as a marine biologist. She's also an ocean conservationist and she has a strong passion for educating children along her travels about life in the water. She documents her experiences on her boat on YouTube. The video productions focus on her maintaining a boat, running charters, and also solo sailing around the Bahamas. She's currently making plans to head south and eventually go through the Panama Canal and cross the Pacific. If you want to follow her journey, check her out on her YouTube channel, Lauren Landers. Enjoy the chat.
So I was probably in middle school, high school, and I just had this desire that it just came to my mind. I wanted to sail around the world solo and have a boat by the time I was 30. That was like what popped into my mind. Obviously, I don't have that same exact vision now, but that vision had stayed that I wanted to buy a boat by the time I was 30. I don't know what drew me to sailing, but I had a huge draw to it. I've grown up going to the Bahamas every single year, fell in love with it completely. I grew up in Missouri, so the highlight of every year was being in the Bahamas for those like 2 weeks.
Yeah, but it will, because that's way inland, isn't it?
It's in the middle of the United States. We have a few lakes around, and that is it.
Right.
So I didn't really tell anyone this dream until I was in college, and I went for marine biology, and I genuinely loved learning and stuff, but I would make jokes with my professors. I'm like, I'm just going to buy a boat and disappear tomorrow. And both my professors and my parents like, okay, go do it.
Whatever.
And I was like joking because I could never do that. But pretty much after college, I hopped on some friends' sailboats, and it was during COVID, so I got kind of lucky. And I just never looked back. I realized that I could also do it. I had great mentors. We have like this little community over here, so we all kind of help each other out if we need it. And it's like, I can do this by myself. So after a year sailing with friends, I found my boat and just decided to go for it.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So, okay, how old are you now? Because you said you wanted to do this by the time you were 30. You're younger than 30.
I'm 23.
Wow. Okay, so you've really got involved in this quite young. Good on you, actually. No, because most people when they're 23, it's like, oh, maybe I'll go on a vacation, or maybe I'll go on a holiday somewhere, or go to Asia for a month. Like that's impressive.
So that was my plan. All of high school and college, I was saving up to go backpack Europe when I graduated college. But then COVID happened and I couldn't do that. So I was working a lot. I worked on larger sport fishing boats. So it was a lot of dock work, some deliveries. And then I met my friend. She's like, do you want to come to the Bahamas and be my co-captain? I was like, definitely. And so if it wasn't for COVID, I would have gone and backpacked Europe versus jumping on the boats and starting my dream. So it was a blessing in a disguise for me.
Yeah, in a way. It's strange. Like I've spoke to so many people who've been like negatively affected by COVID, but if you dig down the surface a little bit further, you can see how it in a twisted way, it did bring people some opportunities, but that's great because it wouldn't have put you where you were.
Exactly. Yeah, very grateful for it.
Yeah. But so what did you move to the Bahamas once you decided that you were going to buy a boat, or did you just head down there because you had like a job opportunity and it was a better place to be?
So I was in Florida for college, and that's where I left with my friend on her catamaran, and she was based in the Bahamas. And so all of my friends were we spend our cruising time in the Bahamas, but we're all kind of based in Florida. And I knew the Bahamas, it's kind of like a second home to me, and I'm very comfortable cruising here. So it's a really good learning ground, I would say, for me with my boat.
Yeah.
But that's what the waters are so beautiful here. It's going to be hard to leave one day, but it was kind
Yeah.
of a no-brainer to start here.
I think like the Bahamas is very much to, well, not the Caribbean, but that area, what like Greece is to the Mediterranean. It's like if you start there, everything is probably not as nice for a long time as you sail
Definitely.
away from it. Yeah.
Yeah, the water is crystal clear. The spearfishing is great, and you can't really find that combo anywhere else in the Caribbean. So I'm definitely lucky
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah. So you chose marine biology. What was the reason for that? Were you like really into fish or aquariums or the ocean?
So just that I love the ocean. I didn't even know marine biology was a degree growing up in Missouri, but my
Mm,
mom one day when I was in middle school made a comment, if I were to go back to school, I'd do marine biology. And that kind of triggered me even thinking about it. So we looked at some colleges and I fell in love with the idea of working with marine life, whether that was with aquarium, sharks, on the macro scale. But I fell in love with that idea and that's why I pursued it.
yeah, nice. I didn't even know it was a thing. Also, I think I was about 16 when I got my first aquarium. So I always used to have saltwater tanks in one house. I had like, I think it was about a 3 meter saltwater tank with corals and starfish and all that type of stuff. And I still didn't know it was like an actual job designation, like a marine biologist. Because yeah,
Yeah.
I was brought up in a town that's like inland, and you were lucky if you got a job as like a bricklayer. So yeah, the idea of like doing marine biology was way far out.
Yeah, it's not a common thing. I think once you get to the coast, it becomes a more familiar concept, but in the
Yeah,
middle of the United States, not many people know about it.
yeah, for sure. What was the idea behind doing that? Was it did you fancy a career in marine biology? And like what is that? What is a career
So,
in marine biology?
this a career in marine biology can be working for aquariums, spending a lot of time in a lab researching. A lot
Mm,
of it won't get you on the ocean. And a lot of people become professors. Some get to do really cool expeditions, but it's not as
mm,
common. And anytime anyone would ask me, what are you wanting to do? I couldn't really answer that. All I could
mm.
answer was that I love the ocean and I want to be on the ocean. And
Yeah,
I was looking for jobs, and I just couldn't find the right job. There's fisheries, there's management, there's a million jobs out there, but nothing like grabbed my attention that I could do this for the next 10, 20 years. But there are a lot
yeah,
of opportunities out there. They're just kind of harder to find, I think.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And so after you did your studies and then you got this opportunity to go and work in the Bahamas, was the idea still fresh in your head that you wanted to like buy a boat and travel the world, or was that something that you forgot about until you ended up back down there?
No, I pretty much, it stayed in my head probably from high school on. I
Mm,
would be daydreaming about it big time almost every single day and um, listening and reading other solo female stories.
yeah.
Yeah, I was captivated by the idea of it.
What was it that captivated you? Was it the idea of being on the ocean because you love the ocean, or was it more like the adventure and traveling around the world?
I think all of it. I love
Yeah.
traveling and I love getting to go to new places and I love the ocean. I became a captain when I was 19 and so I loved driving boats. I love learning everything I could about boats.
Mm,
And this just kind of tied everything in together. Um, I have like some long-term missions too. As I was thinking about this throughout college, I was trying to figure out how can I also give back to communities and how can I make this something meaningful and not just for me.
mm.
And I came up with the idea of being able to work with local communities every country I go to and use my marine biology degree to either teach people about the ocean, swimming, free diving, spearfishing, about boats, whatever that might be. So that, as I was brainstorming this whole sailing thing, that idea came to me in college. So in the next 2 years, I'll be starting to implement that as well, which I'm really excited about. And that gave me it made my passion grow even more when I started thinking about this.
Yeah, that's amazing. That it's so cool that like at that young age, your aspiration. Like I think I just wanted to be an astronaut or a Ninja Turtle. So it's amazing that like at such a young age, you just say, yeah, for real. I wanted to move to New York and live in a sewer. Then I went to New York. I was like, I never want to go there again. Yeah, no, it's great that like at such a young age, you decided that you wanted to do something that was quite impactful and meaningful. Unlike me I suppose. Yeah. What
Well,
made you
thank
want
you.
to do something like that? Like, do you come from a family that have been, you know, done a lot of charity work or been really active in the local community, that type of thing?
We were pretty active in the community. My faith is pretty strong, and that was something I've always come
Oh,
back
nice.
to is how am I going to be able to serve? And that was the biggest question I had, which led to this is how can I serve and not just live for myself, but also help others. And I struggled with that a lot. Like, how can I do that? I'm just living on my boat.
Yeah.
So I'm very hopeful that I'll be able to make this work, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, to be honest, like even what you're doing with making videos and putting them online, that does inspire people to live like a better quality of life. So even if you're not, you know, traveling to these like remote islands in the Pacific or something, like you are having a meaningful impact by doing that. So it's a good
And
start.
on that note, that's a really good point you bring up because that has been really cool. Some people since I've started my channel, they bought a boat and they'll tell me that I inspired that. And I find that really cool
Awesome.
that people have seen my struggles, but still decide to go do it. And I find that really cool. And even if it's
Yeah.
not buying a boat, but just going out and doing something that you've always dreamed of doing, regardless of the risk, I really find that cool that people have done that.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, well done. I mean, yeah, it's having like a great impact already. Um, so at what point did you decide? Because, like, look, living by yourself and then like living on the water by yourself are two completely different things. One's easy and one's like insanely hard. So, at what point did you decide
True.
that you want to do it alone?
So I've always wanted to do it alone. I don't really know what brought that on. I'm a very independent, sometimes stubborn person, I would say.
Mhm.
And I am very hands on. This boat has made me more so hands on and more independent. Um, I had a friend and I had gone away from the idea of doing it solo. And I kind of battled with that. And then I got my boat solo and I was like, okay, great. I'm solo again. And I'm not opposed to doing it not solo anymore.
Yeah,
Um, I really love doing it solo, but I've also loved having friends aboard and even cruising with other sailors. It's a really special thing to share with people. So
yeah.
I'm not opposed to having people on board anymore, really, and I enjoy it. But I do also love the challenges and the growing opportunities that solo operating brings.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially like traveling around the world, like I always want to share every experience that's nice that I have with someone. Um, but you can find like a different type of solace and joy, do you know, when everything is just silent and you can just appreciate things and you're just in your own thoughts. Um, yeah, that's
Yes,
quite cool. Yeah. So do you take crew on
there's
there
two
to help you with
completely
that
ends of the
thing?
spectrum. So for long crossings, I will be like a Pacific crossing. I will. Right now, I'm actually hosting some yoga, freediving, breathwork retreats with another girl. So she's on my boat right now, and we've
Well,
been bringing 4 people on every week. to
Okay.
do some free diving and yoga. So that's been really cool because I do charters alone as well, but it's a really
Mhm.
nice balance to have someone else help out and kind of co-host.
Yeah.
But I am not, for like the larger crossing, I will definitely be bringing people on just because I am a girl,
Yeah.
and it'd be nice to have at least another pair of hands if something were to go extremely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Like solo sailing is beautiful when your boat works. And then when it stops working, it's horrendous. Like I've always sailed on my own, or if someone else is with the boat with me, I've sailed it, but I've sailed on my own quite a bit as well. And it's like, it's nice until your autopilot breaks, and then it's really not nice.
Exactly. So my
Mm.
first month of boat ownership, well, when I looked at my boat a year ago, the engine threw a rod. It was the original engine on a 1993 boat. So I decided to
Okay.
replace it. And I went 980 miles from Puerto Rico, Florida, loaded my boat up within 36 hours, sailed back to the Bahamas, another 36-hour trip, got a charter on, and my engine hydrolocked 3 days later, the brand new
Oh
engine.
no.
So I had to sail back to Florida from the Bahamas with no engine. And in Puerto Rico, the mechanics had also messed up my solar. So the only power I had was either engine or wind generator, and my engine didn't work. So I lost my autopilot because of battery power on the way back to Florida with no engine.
Hmm.
But I had taken on one person for crew that trip, and that
Yeah,
was
thank
the
God.
biggest blessing. And that's one thing that I was like, in case you don't have autopilot, 36 hours without sleep is not fun.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, and it's like it shows you how not how dangerous. I don't want to say the ocean is dangerous, because if you know what you're doing, it's not. But it can just be so stressful if like the boat doesn't work or something breaks. Like it is just way nicer to have
Definitely.
an extra person there. Like I've sailed by myself a lot, but I wouldn't make passages alone. Like I just wouldn't be comfortable with it. Like I just want to go to sleep knowing that something more than a computer is like watching what's going on. I just want a human up there. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. And it's also, that brings up another thing, is when you're picking crew, are you going to be able to find crew that you can like really trust and go
Yeah.
and actually sleep? Like when I
Yeah.
do crossings, I sleep in my cockpit, 5 to 10 minute naps, wake up, go back to sleep.
Mm.
Um, but I'd probably still do that until I found crew that I would trust wholeheartedly to,
Yeah.
if they could adjust the sails and adjust headings, and I'd be like, okay, I could sleep.
Yeah, that's good enough. I've like we did a crossing with it's a guy called James who has a YouTube channel called Zingaro, and the we went from the Azores to Cadiz, and like his girlfriend is not a sailor at all, but he's basically trained her to be like, look, if the needle moves, if this needle moves, or if you hear a bang, then you call me, and then she'd just like knock on the cockpit
Yeah,
and he'd wake up. I'm like, that's good enough. Do you know what I mean? Just someone observe. As long as they're not an idiot,
completely.
it can be okay.
It's something, keeping watch is something I really feel like someone can learn within an hour or two,
Yeah.
big time. And the more they do it, the more they're going to observe and the more comfortable they're going to be and understand each little thing so much
Mm.
more.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Just going back to something, because you said you were doing like a retreat and it was like yoga and
Mm-hmm.
breathing and free diving. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that sounds like a lot. So like, how do you do yoga on your boat? How do you do group yoga on a
So we
monohull?
do the breath work on the bow, but then for the
Okay.
yoga, they all go to shore.
Right.
And so we have
Okay.
like some cabanas and beaches where we're at.
Oh, nice.
So all the yoga takes place on shore.
Right. Okay. I've seen people in anchorages doing yoga on like the bows of their boats, and I couldn't do yoga at like in the stationary position anywhere. Like never mind on a rolling boat. That would be so hard.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. So is this like, so you said you've got a friend who you're doing this with as well? Is this like a business
Mm-hmm.
setup that you're both engaged in a way?
Yes, so she
Nice.
reached out to me last spring. We had mutual friends. We had heard of each other, but we never got to meet because we were always traveling different places.
Mhm.
And she was like, I want to host freediving courses and breath work on a boat. And I'm like, I've had this vision for 2 years. Let's do it. So
Amazing.
we just decided to go for it. And our last one of the year starts tomorrow. And then we're actually going to host 5 more next year as well. So it's super exciting.
Awesome. That is really, really cool.
Yeah,
So like where do you get the customers or does she get the customers for that?
we both do. It's really cool.
Nice.
It's a really good balance. We both bring in people.
That's really great. And how does that work? Like, do you find
Yeah.
people through Instagram or do you have a website or like how do you market it?
We both we both have websites. Hers is Samudra, mine is Sol de la Mar, and
Right.
we both have the Instagrams as well. So we just kind of make a post, and we also have a lot of great friends that share it as well. And our community is really small, so and a lot of people are intrigued by freediving, and we're in the best
Yeah.
place to do it. So that's also a huge draw for people.
Yeah, yeah, like for real, I can just see that doing incredibly well, especially with like the younger generation, like the Instagram generation, because it's
Definitely.
just like perfect Instagram life, isn't it? You know what I mean? You're in the Bahamas, you're doing yoga and you're free
Right.
diving. Like, what more do you want?
On a sailboat, and yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
really cool. So, okay, just like talking about your boat a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
what did you want to get a boat that you could do charters on and host experiences on? Was that always the plan, or did you just want to generally live aboard and get a smaller boat?
So this was a huge decision I had to make, and um, it basically came down to budget because I could either get a smaller boat and it was just going to be me,
Yeah,
or I could go up to the size I have and would have to do charters to maintain it. But I didn't know how long I could sustain myself on a smaller boat because it would not be charter worthy at all. Um, so I kind of did that deposit, like I did a lot of evaluating and eventually decided I don't know what my source of income will be if I don't do charters. And this is something I want to do full time. And so I decided to go the charter route and the larger boat route.
yeah, that's great. And like what you mentioned earlier on, you want to have like a positive influence and you want to give back and all that type of stuff. It's like, okay, obviously you can look at the charter industry as being a bit of a, behemoth money making business, but the way you're doing it, where it's small and it's localized and, you're teaching people
Mm-hmm.
yoga. I mean, that's just such a nice thing to learn anyway, getting in touch with your spirit
Yeah.
and, relaxing and all that. And, showing people marine life and beaches like that. That is giving back in a way. I mean, you're making money from it, which is good, but,
It
you're also giving back.
it's been super rewarding. I usually
Mm,
have great people come on, and I haven't had anyone that I wouldn't have back, honestly.
nice.
And I kind of advertise as come live my life with me versus come charter my boat. I
Yeah.
can on my normal charters, I think almost all of my guests have either have helped me in some way with the boat. My windlass is broke, my engine has broke, and usually my guests are willing to hop in with anything and help me. And we kind of become like this little family by the end of the charter. It's a lot of fun. I've had people
Yeah.
that got to see a shark for the first time, or they got to jump in the blue ocean where you can't see the bottom for the first time. And all of those things have been super rewarding just to see their reactions and let them knock off the little list on their bucket list.
Yeah, I bet that's really, really rewarding. So, okay, when you
Yeah.
when you do what boat is it that you've got? It's a Beneteau. I know that.
Yeah. It's a 1993 Beneteau Oceanis 51.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that is a really good boat. That was a strong boat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
That
you've got
was
the blue
probably my
hull.
biggest challenge.
I've gone for
Yes.
the blue hull. We literally bought a boat like 2 weeks ago, and there was many more versions that were just gel coat, and I was like, no, I'm going blue hull. I love that.
I really enjoy it now that I have it as well.
Mm. So, what made you particularly pick that? Obviously, it's a good size for chartering because it's probably got like
Yeah.
the 4 cabins, I'd imagine. So, or have you got like a
So
master and then two smaller ones?
that was actually the biggest decision. I knew I wanted both aft cabins to have their own heads, but
Yeah,
I didn't want my room to be a charter room. I wanted to have an owner's bedroom. And
nice.
I cannot tell you how many boats I looked at, and it was impossible to find. It's either like a 3-2 or 4-4 or 5-5. There's no
Yeah,
3-3 anywhere. And eventually I came across this boat, and it used to be a 5 cabin, 5 head boat. And it's had 3 owners, and 2 owners ago, they converted it to a master in the bow. And then
oh,
the
nice.
crew quarters became storage. So
Yeah.
I have 3 cabins and 3 heads. So it's kind of the dream layout for me.
Yeah, I mean it's perfect. Like you can chill in the bow up front, and then you can basically take like two groups of paying cabins along.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we're actually doing the same. The boat that we've got is it's got like two up front, two at the back, and then you've got like your bow cabin, which is meant to be for skipper or whatever. But
Yes.
that's my job.
Yeah.
I don't need to put any. I think the washing machine is going in there. But yeah, on the one that we're getting, you just take out a wall in the front cabins or the aft cabins, and then you've got like one. You can have a master in the back or the front, which is really cool.
Exactly. It's so nice. I really like the fact that you can do that with boats.
Yeah, yeah. And what made you specifically pick that one? Like, were you looking at a few different brands, a few different manufacturers?
I was looking at boats that were older than 2000 because I wanted that sturdy, thick hull.
Yeah.
And um, I've always been drawn to Beneteau's because of the layout, mainly for chartering, I guess. I looked at a million different brands. I was happy it was a Beneteau. I'm just drawn to them, but it was never like, I need to have a Beneteau. I didn't care at all about the size. I'd be happy on a 36, honestly.
Nice.
But if I would have found a 3-3 that was like a 44, 46, that probably would have almost been ideal. But I do love my crew cabin that got turned into storage. I'm
Yeah, it's really handy.
very happy about that.
Yeah.
But it was basically just wanting an older boat. That was the big thing I looked for, an older boat that was taken care of well.
Yeah, that's a really great place to start, and like two, yeah, strong priorities that are quite sensible. So, like, good on you for
Yeah.
going into it with that. Like that is probably quite. I imagine it's challenging. It's got a bow thruster on it. Yeah.
I actually had to add bow thrusters. That was one thing
Right.
it didn't have. But for me, I put myself in the worst spots I've ever docked in, and with a boat with 2 engines. I was
Mm.
like, I'm going to get bow thrusters for that. If I'm solo and docking in those conditions, I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
want them big time.
Yeah, like I've spoke to like quite a few people who've got like 50 to 55 foot boats and they've got no bow thrusters, and it's like my previous boat was like 34 foot, and when you're trying to like med more into a spot and you've got like 20 knots on the beam, it's impossible. Like you literally can't. Like you are just going to be
You're going
hitting
to
and
get
bouncing
swung
off
in
of
a
a boat.
circle. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So you had some experience on a catamaran before you bought that one, or what made you
So
specifically want to get a monohull?
I've always wanted a monohull, and I'd say sport fishing boats are kind of like my babies. I know how to drive them and I know them very well, but they're not like the dream life that the sailing gives you in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
And catamarans are great, but I feel like you're either in between or you're just one or the other. And I am definitely it. Just I prefer monohulls.
Yeah, it's one for the
And
team.
I just prefer monohulls. So it was never even, it never crossed my mind to even consider getting a cat.
Yeah. You know, it's like I've just I think I was 16 when I first like wanted to came up with the idea of like sailing in different countries, not necessarily sailing around the world, but like I've just always pictured just like a nice classic looking monohull, do you know what I mean, with good lines. And I
Yes.
appreciate catamarans. Like I've just spent a week on like a new Nautitech, which is like actually it's a gorgeous
Mm.
catamaran. It's really nice, but they don't feel like a sailboat. I don't know how to explain it without pissing people off, but like they don't feel like a sailboat to me. I don't know. Well, they can't sail a lot of directions, so that might be why.
Also fair. I really
Yeah,
enjoy being able to sail upwind.
yeah, yeah. We were trying to. I think we were probably about 60 degrees apparent, and it was struggling. And that this was like a catamaran with pretty thin hulls, like it wasn't a lagoon or anything like that. And yeah, it was struggling. It wasn't getting any decent speed at all. So yeah, I'm
I
pretty
believe
happy
that.
with the direction. And you know they're so bloody expensive. Like we were having we've been doing like some boat reviews on catamarans, and it's like if you want a good used catamaran that like isn't like
Hmm.
a lagoon or just some like apartment type of thing, you need like 400 grand. Like they're a lot of money.
They are a lot of money. That's also another factor. I cannot afford a catamaran.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they were cheaper, I think more people would probably sail them. Um, they are comfortable.
probably.
You got a hell of a lot of living space, but I prefer monohulls. You know, you
They
go
are
down
very
into the
comfortable.
saloon and it's like cozy down there. It just feels safer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, what made you want to start like creating video content for people? Is that something you've always fancied as well, or was it a
Yeah.
random idea?
No. I had a friend who kind of introduced me to it. He was going to start a channel, and then I had a few other friends that had started channels during COVID, but
Mm.
life got in the way and they just never maintained it. And so I've never been a YouTube person, honestly. I don't really watch it, but um, on my when I went to go get my boat in Puerto Rico, I started filming uh, just to film.
Mm.
And then when my engine hydrolocked, I was stuck in Florida for 3 to 4 months. And I was like, well, I might as well just see what this whole editing thing is about. And I just started kind of playing around with it. And then kind of just kept, once I published a video, I was like, might as well just keep doing this. I had nothing better to do, honestly, than filming as I was doing all these boat projects. And then I
Yeah.
sailed back to the Bahamas, and that video just randomly one day blew up. And that gave me a lot of motivation. And then I just kind of kept it going. I'm still learning a lot by far,
Yeah,
but
it's a
it's
hard
been a
job as
fun
well.
journey. It's a very time consuming job. I've kind of, the past 2 months, we've had nonstop retreats. Plus, I'm trying to edit and take care of the boat with only 2, 3 days in between charters, plus do all the
Mm.
normal boat, try to find laundry, groceries. Like, okay, I think it's time that you realize you've taken on about 3 jobs and you need
Yeah.
more time.
That's crazy. That is pretty wild. Like you're 23, you're now running a charter business. You're running like a yoga retreat business. You're managing your own 50-foot boat. You managing a YouTube business. Yeah, you've got a lot going on for a 23-year-old.
It's kind of slowly started to hit me in the past few weeks.
uh,
Like, you're actually doing a lot and you kind of need to take a step back and rest a little bit. But I can't because
mm,
I have to maintain all these things. But it's
yeah,
given me a lot of good insight for the next year. So I've cut down my chartering dates big time for next year. That way I can focus, give the boat the attention it deserves, give YouTube the attention it deserves, and also give the people the attention they deserve.
Yeah.
versus trying to juggle all three at once. So it's been a really great learning experience these past 3 months.
Well, yeah, because I mean, this is your first go at it, really. This is your first time you've tried to do all these things at once. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you've realised it's a lot of work.
Yes, big time. And I've had
Yeah,
hard drives crash. My laptop broke a few days ago. So it's been that put the editing a little behind too. So it's like I have to do an all-nighter. I have to get a studio out tomorrow. So it's been fun, but a
yeah.
learning
The
experience.
technology side of it as well. Like, I obviously don't do that much editing. I just like get this video and just put it straight on. I try to avoid it because it's really hard. But like, if your computer breaks, you're completely screwed. There's nothing you can do. If your memory card, and those memory cards are so flimsy. I bought a new one like 3 weeks ago for my drone. I took it out of the thing, and then when I put it in my drone, I broke it. I snapped it. I was like,
Oh
okay,
my
that's,
gosh.
and it was like 128 mega giga. I'm not into it. Anyway, it was a big one, and it was a 4K one, and it cost a lot of money. I was very pissed off. So yeah,
Oh,
you need a lot of
geez.
technology. It could be really expensive.
It can be big time.
Yeah. So what is the plan for like next year? Are you going to do like another season in the Bahamas with the charters and then do some videos with that stuff as well?
Yes. So I made my 2023 plans about 1 month ago. I have not released it publicly. So this is going to be kind of the first um, announcement, I guess. I have decided to do only about 20 days of my traditional charters, which are just me solo operating. They're more guest, they're more personalized for each guest. They tell me what they want to do, and I take them to whatever islands are going to fit their needs best.
Mm,
And then we will be doing 4 rounds of some hammerhead shark diving.
wow.
And mhm. Then I'll take about a month or two off in between the hammerheads and then the next round of yoga retreats. And while we're in Long Island, Bahamas, it's where Dean's Blue Hole is, which is the second deepest blue hole in the world.
Yeah.
So we have the vertical blue freediving competition here, as well as a deep week camp. And my friend Allie and I have helped out with both of those this year, and we're planning to help out with both next year as well. They're going
Amazing.
to be more spaced out next year, which is going to be great. So between the retreats and those, we'll be busy all summer. And then I'm going to, as of now, venture down to the Caribbean for the first time
Oh,
by boat.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
that's
that will be pretty
that's
much
it's
all
such a
solo
practical way
or
to like
friends.
organize your year. Do you know what I mean? Like, just do these things in batches, like, because then you can modify your boat as well and like change the layout or get new equipment on like specific to the type of chartering that you're doing. It's great.
Exactly. And that way I have breaks in between for YouTube, because I do need to do solo sailing for the YouTube, in my opinion. I think that's the easiest for me to film, and also the easiest for me to edit, and also what I feel like the viewers have been drawn to. So
Mm-hmm.
that I do have to treat that as a priority as well. And giving the boat the attention it deserves and the breaks. And then I'm really excited to branch out and leave the Bahamas. I'm not excited to leave the Bahamas, but I'm excited to go to some new cruising grounds before I take the leap for the Pacific in a few years.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a big one. What? So you thinking?
That's going to be a big
So
one.
yeah, yeah, definitely. There's a girl I did a podcast with called Holly. I can't remember her last name, but she does videos, and she I think her videos are wind hippie. They're called wind hippie. These videos that she
Okay,
does.
cool.
She's like a solo sailor. I think she's in like her mid-20s, but like she was born on, not born. I think she was born in a hospital, but like she was born and brought up on set. Maybe she was born in a boat. I don't know, but I think she was brought up on sailboats because so it was like her
Oh,
parents and
cool.
her and a sister, and they like circumnavigating on like a 20-something foot boat. So she was just like born into this life. But yeah, like she started in Maine, and then she's now in Fiji, I think. But
Wow.
yeah, that'll be a cool one for you to check out. Actually, she's done that all by herself as well.
Yeah,
And
definitely. That's really inspiring.
yeah, that's really cool. Right, I want to ask as well about so the free diving that you do.
Mhm.
What got you into that?
Just being in the ocean when I was younger, and I think around middle school, high school is when Instagram kind of started, and I saw people free diving. I was like, that looks cool.
Mm, yeah.
And um, I was fascinated by it, and eventually I got to start, and I just fell in love with it. So in Florida, that's when I started freediving more. I became a freedive instructor a year ago. So
Oh
it's been
well,
a fun journey. Yeah,
that's so cool. And is for you? Is it more about like swimming around the reefs, or are you more interested in like trying to get as deep as possible?
when I first started, I was very into the depth aspect.
Mm,
And right now, I've kind of taken a step back and focused on enjoying my dives and getting back to loving it again. But I think I do see some more depth training coming up in the next few years as well, more for fun. But
mm.
it's a nice feeling to do a nice clean line dive.
Yeah, it looks great. It's I've never really had the opportunity. No, well, that's lying. I've had many opportunities to do it. I've just not bothered. But it's something I like want to learn and I want to get into. I just have I have a huge
Definitely.
problem. Like I get like 5 meters down and I feel like my head's going to explode and I can't carry on.
Equalizing,
Um,
yeah,
mm,
equalizing is a huge issue for a lot of people, but it's because we're taught to equalize um, in a different way. And so we have a few ways for equalizing for freediving that are game changer and allow people that think they can't do depth and then they can do depth. So it's really cool.
can you give away the secrets, or is this are you not
Um,
allowed to
it's
disclose?
just
I want to
a few different.
know.
No, I can definitely. It's just a few different freediving like equalization techniques. Not blowing, but it's
Yeah,
more
that's
like a
fine.
lock in your throat. If I could
Okay.
recommend anyone to learn, Adam Stern on YouTube has amazing videos
Australian
that
guy.
go into, yes,
Yeah, I know
amazing
him.
videos
He's a
on
champion or something, eh?
equalization. Yes,
Right,
he
yeah.
teaches equalization very well, and he has a YouTube video on it. So I definitely recommend that if anyone is wanting to learn their
Oh,
equalization.
okay. I didn't know he
Yeah,
did like educational videos. I've seen a bunch of them where he goes like free diving in like rainforest caves and stuff. Like some of them look
yeah,
pretty wild. Well, and he can't see anything.
he
Like
does
he'll
some
literally
crazy
just free
stuff.
dive in blackness. I'm like, what are you doing, mate? That looks terrifying.
He does a lot of fun stuff. He was actually out here doing his deep wake camp about a month ago, and I got to take him spearfishing out here, which was a lot of fun.
Oh my god, yeah, that is cool. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be awesome.
it was
Well,
fun.
I think he's definitely the most popular on YouTube. I think, but I'm sure he's a world champion
I would
or
agree
a
with that.
record holder, something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yes, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then you incorporate the spearfishing into that as well, in a way, or like the breath hold part.
yeah. If people are interested in spearfishing, I definitely love to teach them. It's a
Yeah,
big learning curve, but it's fun once you get a hang of it.
yeah. Like what is the secret to? I mean, there's obviously techniques to it, but once you swim down there, you're basically just hanging out, like waiting for a fish to go past. Have you got like different techniques of like concentrating on your breath and relaxing your body, like when you're down there, as opposed to actually
Relaxing,
going down?
relaxing is the biggest thing. Just being
Yeah.
comfortable enough to kind of sit in the sand, and just being comfortable is honestly the biggest thing. Comfortable and quiet. That will make
Mm.
the biggest difference in both your free diving and spearfishing.
Well, it's the same as scuba diving, then, isn't it? Because if you're panicking when you're scuba diving, like you'll use a tank up like way quicker than if you're just breathing like quite controlled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, shifts like
Yeah.
that.
And so you offer that as part of like the charters you do.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So just so like people can hear and then go and check this out. Do you have like a website where people can go and see all this
I
type of stuff?
do. It's my boat name, soldelamar.com.
Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So de la Mar.
Soul of the Sea. So
Oh, okay.
it's Soul of the Sea, and Law was my nickname growing up. So my mom kind of came up with the name, but it
Right,
stuck.
nice. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you've got quite a sensible mum. I think the last thing I would do is opt for my mum to name my boat. I don't know what it would get called. Probably something pretty stupid. Right. Okay. And all right. So the plans that you've got going forward, you've said that you want to like head across the Pacific. Are you still thinking that you want to do a circumnavigation or you want to sail around the world?
Yes, it is definitely on the list. I'm super excited for it, actually.
That's brilliant. Have you got like a kind of cruising route in mind? Do you want to like do the Horns or do you want to go through the canals? What are you thinking?
I have a lot of research to do. I would start going through the Panama Canal, the
Mm.
Gulf Coast, French Polynesia, and that's about as far as I've gotten.
Yeah, same. I think, yeah, like on a serious level, it's just like, okay, I know the route to French Polynesia, then the rest of it, I've got no clue. So I need to like buy a
Exactly.
book or something like that. But yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. You're like Malaysia, Thailand, you can even head up to Japan, I suppose, something like that if you wanted
That would
to.
be
But
a
like,
dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, in terms of like the Bahamas, not like very low rise islands with shallow water, but in terms of like the beauty, like Thailand has got to be quite close.
I'm very excited for that. I've actually been to Thailand when I was younger and I really enjoyed it, but I really want to go back by boat and see it from a
Mm,
whole nother perspective because everything I see now just looks absolutely stunning. I'm really excited for
yeah.
that.
And what about the idea of cruising through the Mediterranean? Is that something
I
you want to
really
do?
want to. I
Oh,
really want
amazing.
to. I didn't always have that in mind, but then I got this boat and I was like, I want to take this boat everywhere.
Mm.
I'd go anywhere in this boat. So I do really want to do the Med as well.
I mean, it's quite a good boat to do the Med. I mean, as long as you have like, you have to have a reliable engine because there isn't much wind here a lot of the time,
Yes.
unfortunately. Yeah, it's a shame
Yeah.
because it's like the most beautiful sea in the world, really, with the most history and the most culture. But yeah, for sailing, it's not very great. You can
But
spend like a
that's the
day on the
draw of the
water.
Med. It's just like
Yeah,
when I get to the Med, I want to be able to leave my boat for a little bit, go and explore, come back to the boat,
yeah.
and that's kind of my dream I have anyway. But
Mm.
the culture and all that stuff is a huge draw for sure.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do that here. I mean, I've never cruised around like the Bahamas or the Caribbean or anything like that. I've spent a bunch of time there on vacations, so I know them pretty well. But like in the Mediterranean, I think it's a lot cheaper to just like moor up your boat somewhere, take it into a marina, and like just take a few days out and go and explore like a temple or a cathedral or something like that. Um, and
That's
I
amazing.
just a massive advocate for like trying to get people to sail over because not many people do, especially from your side of the Atlantic. Most people think of doing the
Yeah,
Caribbean and going round. I'm like everything
exactly.
that made your part of the world the way it is came from this part of the world, like South America,
Completely.
Spanish, America, England, like it all came from there. So it makes sense to give it a shot.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, listen, thanks so much for taking the time to talk about your story.
Yeah.
And
Thank
it's
you
just
for
super
inviting me.
impressive.
It's great to meet you. Thank
Oh, yeah,
you. I
like
appreciate
honestly,
that.
it's so great. Like when I was 23, my only ambitions were just like getting drunk after work. And you are doing a lot more than that. So good on you. I think you're
Well,
going in the right
thank
direction.
you. I appreciate
Well,
that. And I was very happy to hop on here with you.